I kind of rose through assistant director through all court to running the theatre upstairs, and I was lucky enough to work with some fantastic writers. I mean, a big turning point in my life was working with Trevor Griffiths, and one of the things that he talked to me about was reaching a wider audience. We were talking to the converted, that in theatre you're very much really playing to middle-class, liberal, intelligentsia audiences, and the subjects that we were dealing with, I was doing plays by Hanif Qureshi, by Jim Cartwright, fantastic new writing, issue-based stuff, and I thought, I'd much rather be doing this to a wider audience, and the only way I knew how to do that was television. So then I heard about this new innovatory series that was going to be made, a working class soap, BBC, called EastEnders. And I also heard that the producer was a woman called Julia Smith, and I thought, it's a woman, right, okay, I'm going for this, I'm going to write to her. If anybody should give me a chance, it should be another woman. So I wrote to her, and she came up with the goods. God bless her. She actually took me on. She gave me a sort of informal training, which is very unusual at the BBC. She hired me about 6-8 weeks before she needed me to actually start directing, and what I did was trail other directors. And I think it's important to say in these circumstances that actually 2 of those other directors I trailed were women, right back then as well. So, you know, that was great. And it was a progressive, confidence-building, trust thing for me, and by the end of the process they entrusted this very special episode to me, which was a 2-hander between Den and Angie, which I think was a kind of innovative thing.
That you, Den?
I became head of series and serials, as it was called then, in the BBC in the early 80s, and I was appointed to the job with 2 very specific briefs. The BBC was suffering yet another crisis, and the crisis was on 2 fronts. The main channel, BBC One, had taken a terrible dip in the ratings, and we had to fight back with some popular programming.
The camera was still on the move, I think.
Sorry. Oh, I see. Yes.
And it actually turned out to be a very fruitful period, because EastEnders was a success. I mean, it wasn't an immediate success when it started. It took 6 months to get going. But when the big relationship between Den and Angie happened, the ratings went through the roof, and we suddenly had a monumental hit on our hands.
It was great. I loved the scene.
And so it was decided, because they were doing so well, to do 1 episode with just the 2 of them, with one of their very famous fights. And so there were the 2 of them at home, Angie in her dressing gown most of the time, and we had one other character, which was the window cleaner, who just looked through the window and slowly cleaned the windows and saw what was going on. Obviously, I don't know whether he heard everything, but he certainly saw what was going on. And Antonia, because she was doing so well and everybody loved her, was asked to direct it.
And it's almost unthinkable that you're just going to show 2 actors talking to each other for half an hour, you know, in a high-rating program, and handling that. And of course, there is nothing else but the performance. You know, there aren't landscapes to shoot, so you have to, as a director, be brave enough to allow the actors to speak for themselves, to allow the script to speak, to, in a sense, withdraw yourself. And that's hard for a director. And I think it takes real ingenuity, real maturity, and real talent to disappear in the way that is required.
Oh, I've been waiting for this. I've been waiting for the backlash. Oh, so you're ill, are you? Well, what's wrong with you, eh? What you got? Got an ache? Do you want to go and lie down? Do you want me to bring you breakfast in bed? Hot water bottle? Eh? Some aspirin? Alka-Seltzer? Don't try that one on me, Ange, because it won't wash. No way you ever gonna get me back.
I'm scared! You stupid, idiotic little man, I'm scared! Do you know what it's like? Since they told me, I feel like I'm locked inside a cell with the walls closing in on me, the ceiling pressing down, the floor coming up to meet me, and I'm getting smaller and smaller, and it's crushing me, and I'm shrinking, and I can't go!
Shut up.
She loved keeping the camera where it had to be. She knew where to put the focus. And I think in that scene, there was only the two of us. It wasn't a huge room. She needed to see me because I was the one that was delivering the bombshell in that particular scene. But she also needed to see Leslie's reaction, whether he believed her or whether he didn't. And so it was a very clever thing to do, to have both of us in shot, I think. That's another mark of a really good director, keeping the camera lens where it needs to be. So you, the viewer, you are getting the story right at you.
What are you telling me, eh?
I've got 6 months to live.
What?
I've got 6 months to live. Not long, is it, then? 6 little months.
You can see her hand in stuff that she's done. If you look at her work, you can see her hand in it, you know, because the kind of work she likes to do tells you a lot about the woman, tells you that she is an emotional woman, that she does have a welter, you know, a depth to her of emotion.